So now that we've looked at the sip.conf file, as you can see here, we have a sip peer here. If you did need to add more extensions, you can always just do a copy and paste on an extension and then just change the extension number and password and default user, and then of course the mailbox. So that's easy to include additions there if you need to. But let's take a look at the extensions.conf instead of sip.conf. So let's cat out that file. We'll go to asterisk and extensions.conf. So in here I have a default dial plan that I've put together for you that is a pretty standard setup for most users or most organizations. It has opened and closed hours and a auto attendant. So let's scroll up here to the top where it says has the cat command that we used for extensions.conf. And at the very top we have the general section for all the general settings. And these are just good settings to leave in place for all of the config files. Even if you go ahead and create new ones using these standard variables here are a good measure. Then we have the default context, which basically just hangs up on anything that comes in. That's really more for security reasons, and in this course we're not going to get into a lot of security, but I plan on doing some additional courses to go over asterisk security as well as voice over IP security in general. So the inbound schedule here, this context itself, this is your default context. So any inbound phone call coming from either carrier or anywhere from the outside is going to go into this schedule. You can see if we don't have a match to anything. So if I tried to dial in with some random digits that I passed, that's just going to get an instant hang up again to prevent any type of fraud from occurring and wasting or trying to consume your SIP carrier usage. So I explicitly display or I explicitly state the DID numbers that I allow to ring in. So this is just a false temp number that I put in here. You would want to replace this phone number here with the actual number of the DID that you purchased from one of the SIP carriers. And you can just do a search and replace on this number, and it'll replace all the numbers right here, as well as any outbound caller ID numbers. So just to kind of walk through the inbound schedule context here, we're going to do an answer on that phone call. Then I just print out a no op here to let me know in the asterisk logs what took place in case I had different phone numbers routing in. And then I also do set up a custom CDR entry to notify that there's an inbound phone call. I get the date, time, and then I also I get the extension or the call number that it came in on, and then the caller ID. Then I also actually do a call recording on this phone call. So call recording isn't something that we've talked about yet. We did talk about creating recordings, but if you wanted to create call recordings, Asterisk is a great application to do that. We can use this tool Mix Monitor, and I'm just creating this is the actual file name format. It's identical to the user field. So out of the user field, you could, from the CDR logs, you could generate the capability of getting the access to this file name. And we're not going to talk about this in this course, but in future courses where we get more advanced, I'll show you more about how to use the call recording functionality. But this will record all your phone calls for you, all the inbound phone calls that is, and you can play those back. Now, call recording it's got its own legalities that you need to worry about state by state or country by country. That's something that you'll need to figure out on your own. So then the next step here is it's going to go to the schedule, and this is where we do the opened and closed hours. So you can see I say a no op, which is going to output the well, let's look at this goto command because we really haven't talked about goto. So goto right here is going to say what context are we going to. So the context name is first, it's schedule, and then where are we going in that context. And extend is going to be equal to whatever this number is, and so that's where in the context we are going to go. And then what step are we going to go to? So I could skip along to step 2, 3, 4, whatever it might be, but we want to go right to the top. So we are going to go to schedule, and then 310-555-1212 and step 1. And so what that does is it leads us down to the schedule context. And here we have a match for 310-555-1212, and this is step 1. So this goto format of this goto command sends us directly to this step 1 no op. And that no op is going to print out a message in the log saying time of day routing. And then we have another command here, a goto if time, which again is something we haven't talked about. It's a little bit more complicated, but it is very simple once you see what the formatting is. So here we have the time of day routing. So this is saying from 8:58 a.m. to 17:02, this is in military time, which means it's going to be 5 o'clock or 5:02 p.m. These are going to be open hours. Anything outside of this range is going to be considered closed. And then again, we have we use the comma to separate these, and then we go to the days of the week. And in this case, it's going to be Monday through Friday, which is considered open. And then we do a comma. And these are some other variables that we can set, but those are not set right now. We just are basically doing wildcards and saying ignore this setting or ignore this variable, and then another comment and ignore that variable. And then the question mark is telling us, well, where do we want to go in the event that these are the opened hours? And we want to go to the inbound context. So it's identical. This string right here is going to be identical to what we did up here with schedule, the schedule context, where in the context, and then what step. So we're going to go to the inbound context. We're going to go to extend, which in this case is going to be equal to 310-555-1212, and then we're going to go to step 1. So next we can see the inbound context down here. And we can see 310-555-1212 will fit in here. That's a match. And this is step 1. And then we do a no op saying, oh, the office is open. So we're going to the office open auto attendant. And now if, since that was a match, it goes through, routes through this inbound context which is an auto attendant that I've created for you. And then let's go back to the schedule just so you understand what this second step does, or third step does, this go to inbound closed. Basically, if this doesn't match, it's going to keep going down to the next step. And then the next step is just by default, if it comes through because it didn't match this time of day routing, we're automatically just going to go to the closed auto attendant. So the auto attendants are very similar. The only differences are going to be these recordings. So I'll just go over this inbound one for opened hours. But our first step is the no op to print out some output in the CLI. The second step is to set a variable of num invalid. And this is being set for a loop counter. So if somebody calls in and they loop through the auto attendant or don't make any selections, then we can make sure they get kicked out and they're not able to just keep hanging in there over and over and over again for entering invalid responses. The next step is we have our set timeout digit, and that's going to be the maximum amount of wait time between digit entries, and this is in seconds. So this is set to 3 seconds, which is a little bit long, but I like to leave my users or callers enough time to listen and have time to enter those in between. So here we have, sorry about the scanning there. This is the set timeout digit equals 3, which is in seconds. And so we also have another timeout set below that. The next step here is the response, which is the amount of time the timeout is waiting. So this is set to 3 seconds, which is a little bit long sometimes. You could potentially use 2, but I usually like to give users a little extra time just to make sure they have enough time to enter in the correct response for what they're trying to accomplish. Then I just play a quick ring. I always like to play a ring when the call first comes in. That way it buffers and before the audio starts playing, as well as gives that user or caller the sense that this is a phone call that's coming through. So then we come to a wait, which if you use ringing, you need to do some form of a wait after it. And I did a wait for 1 second, which means it's going to ring for 1 second. If I did 6 here, it would ring for 6 seconds. So that's how you use wait and ringing in tandem. I'm not going to talk about this right just yet. We will review that since I know that looks a little bit different. That's not our normal just n variable. There's n and then parentheses. Here's where we play the recording, and this is what's important in this section that I really want to point out is we have this background custom open recording is the option here. So we would actually need to replace whatever is in here with the recording name that you created, and we did this earlier in the lab. So let's actually go and replace this and make sure that that's correct. So I'm going to go into the directory where we have those recordings, which is var lib asterisk sounds and custom, and then I'll do an ls in there, and I have open office recording. Now we do have a .wav after it, but you don't want to include that. The system itself will automatically select which type of file it is. So now let's open up etc. Asterisk extensions.conf, so we can edit that, and we'll go down to where it's the open recordings, and so I can come in here to the background command in the auto attendant, and we have the custom directory. By default, background knows where the sounds are, and I'm going to paste in the file name of the recordings that we created. So open-office-recording, and leave the .wav off, otherwise that will break it. And then again, I play that same recording again just to give the user extra time to be able to make their selection in case they didn't hear it. So we entered that in. So now this auto attendant really is actually customized. We could go ahead and save this and use it in a production environment, although there is also the matter of the closed recording. So we would have to do the same thing for the inbound-closed context. But this is the most important part of what you need to change in the extensions.conf. And then obviously just customizing these time of days and some of the other items in here. All right, so I'm going to exit out of here, saving my changes, and then I would go back in there and make sure I had that closed recording and set that as well. So that's it for this session. We'll jump in and dig in a little deeper in extensions.conf next time.